back to another episode of Digging Up the Past, where we're going back through Magic's history and we're looking at all the zombies that we have throughout this wonderful game we have. And today we're going to be starting back with Theros Beyond Death. A little bit about Theros Beyond Death. It was our 83rd Magic expansion. It was released on January 24th, 2020. Like its predecessors, Theros Beyond Death has an ancient Greek-themed top-down design, making use of many of the mythological tropes, heroes, monsters, and gods. The set's expansion symbol is a mask of the returned, and we all know about the constellation lands, but something I didn't know is that the regular lands depicted the above and below of Theros and its underworld. So, let's go on ahead and get into Theros Beyond Death. Starting out with Discordant Piper. For 1 and a black, you get a 2-1 Zombie Satyr, and when it dies, it creates a 0-1 Goat token. This one's not actually bad if you're trying to go with a sacrifice theme, and you just want to kind of keep the sacrifice train going. Grim Physician. For a single black, it's a 1-1 zombie. Whenever it dies, target creature an opponent controls gets a -1/-1. This is a heralding return to the Festering Goblin effect that they persistently continue to try and push forward. Another one of those would be Festering Mummy. So it's kind of good that they're at least kind of consistent when it comes to card design. And then we have the return of Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel. For 3 and 2 black, it's a 2-4 zombie. And if you don't know what Gary does, it's a card as old as time almost at this point. Originally spawned in the first set of Theros, this is probably a staple among mono black devotion decks and other zombie decks, because most of the time you're either in a black heavy deck or you're in a mono black deck. But whenever he enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain the life equal to the life lost. It's a pretty good card, especially if you're in a life gain, life lost deck. You're trying to make sure all your opponents lose life. Mire Triton. For 1 and a black, it's a 2-1 zombie merfolk with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard and you gain 2 life. See, this was one of the ones that actually popped off really good for mill decks, self-mill decks. And if you're playing for a self-mill strategy in like Sidisi Brew Tyrant or something of this, something in relation to it, this is actually a pretty decent rate. 2 for 2, and you gain 2 life, and you get a good blocker. I would say this isn't that bad of a card. Pelucranos Unchained. For 2, a black and a green, you get a legendary Zombie Hydra 0/0, but it enters the battlefield with 6 +1/+1 counters on it, and it escapes with 12 +1/+1 counters on it instead. If damage would be dealt to Pelucranos while it has a +1/+1 counter on it, prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters from it. And it also has a fight ability for 1 generic, a black, and a green, and you just fight any other creature. The escape cost is 4, a black, and a green, and exile 6 other cards from your graveyard. I actually thought about building a zombie deck around this one, but then, some other choices, more spicier choices came up down the line. And actually, I just like this as a good card in general. It's a removal spell when you need it multiple times. Like, it can consistently, especially if you're in a self-mill strategy like Sidisi or something or the other, it'll just it keeps coming back. And that's what I find really interesting about this card. Aphema the Cacophony. This is where we get into our zombie affiliate cards. Not zombies in particular, but they do something for the tribe. For 1 and a black, you get a 2-1 legendary enchantment creature Harpy. With flying at the beginning of your end step, you may exile an enchantment card from your graveyard. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So if you're in, I've seen actual builds around this where it's zombie tribal, and they're trying to amass a token board. It's not bad. In my opinion, it could be done better. There are better ways to do it. But I will say I do enjoy the art, because if you look behind her, you can see the returned kind of following her into or wherever she's going. Timuret Calls the Dead. For 2 and a black, we get a enchantment saga, and it has 3 steps. The first one is, well, the first 2, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, so it's kind of funneling your mill. Then you may exile a creature or enchantment card from your graveyard. If you do, put a 2/2, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. That would actually be pretty good, especially if you're running a kind of a self mill, a creature, or even enchantment heavy deck, and you're trying to go, zombies with it. And then the last one is you gain X life and scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. This harkens back to me to the Scarab God, and it doesn't subtract the life from your opponents, but it does gain you life, and you do get card advantage when it comes to having a large board, if you have a large board. Now if you just have those 2 zombies you made in the past 2 lures, it's not bad by itself, but you really want to play this in a heavy token deck, because it doesn't count. It does count in your tokens. But anyways, that's going to be it for today. I really appreciate all my new subscribers, all my old subscribers. I really appreciate it. I cannot say it enough. And I will still be doing this as long as they keep making zombies. But until next time, I will see you guys in the graveyard.